a lot of information here that I would like to share with you. So just sit comfortably and then make sure that you take as much as possible in terms of the notes and you focus and then enjoy the presentation. Okay, what I would like you to do is that I want you to look at these two properties. We've got property A and property B. Both of them are, the other one, they are in Morningside in Devon. The other one is a 5-bedroom house, which has got double door garage, and then the other one, it costs about 2.4 million. And then the other one is got a 6-bedroom house, and then it's a distressed property. It's got no garage. It costs about 650 to buy. And then just tell me on the chat there, which one would you purchase between the two? But we'll talk about this one here later. Okay, my name is Mpho Debe. I was born in Vryheid, but I'm currently situated here in Devon. I'm a professional property investor, and I'm also mentoring people who want to invest in property. I also have a contract, I'm a contractor dealing in construction, civil works and buildings. I'm an entrepreneur, and I've just recently started to be a speaker. You won't believe that it's something that I used to hate, to speak in front of people, but what can we say? Okay, in terms of the investment strategies that I like the most, I like developments, flipping, multi-lets, foreclosure. And then some of you will be asking what's flipping, multi-lets, and foreclosure. We'll talk about that during the presentation. In terms of my qualification, I've got a BTech in civil engineering. I'm also registered as a professional engineer. And I've got a master's degree in shipping and transport. So basically, just to give you a little bit of background about myself, we are 4 at home. We're raised by a single parent, which is my mother. And then at the age of 10 or so, my mom had to go and work. She used to be a domestic worker. So I was left with my siblings. I was looking after them because my mother used to see her only during the end of the month. So from there, I had to be a grown man to look after my siblings. But then when I was doing my standard 6, I decided that I need to get some job because my mother was not affording to pay for us in terms of the school fees and all that. So during the holidays, I would go to work and then as a garden boy and also be the daga boy, if you know those things. Then I worked there since I completed my matric. But then when I completed my matric, I couldn't be able to come to tertiary to register, even though I passed well, due to the fact there was no money for me to be able to register. But then what I did, asked some of the people that I used to work for if they can give me a job for a year just to clean the garden. And then they agreed. So I worked there, just doing one and the same thing every day. Once we have done the garden on Friday, when you come back on Monday, it's still clean, and then you don't even know what to do. But they kept me there for a year, so I was able to save some money so that I can be able to pay my tuition fee. And then the following year, which was in 2001 or 2002, then I came here in Devon to register at Devon University of Technology. By then, it used to be Natal Technikon. So I registered for civil engineering, and then I was admitted there. Fortunately enough, with the money that I saved, I was able to pay for my first year. But the second year, it was tough because even during the holidays, when I go back home, I had to go and work. So I never enjoyed really my time. So the following year, I applied for a bursary, and then I received one from Transnet. So that's when my life began. Because after that, and then I did my service training with them. Once I finished my diploma, they appointed me as a technician there. But one thing I can tell you about me is that I was never loyal to my position or to my manager. So I never worked in one position for more than 2 years. So I was trying to make sure that I climbed the ladder. So I worked there, and then things were going well because I think in 2010, they even sent me overseas in Netherlands. That's where I did my master's. And then I came back with the hope that I'll climb the ladder even further. Unfortunately, things didn't go my way. And then in 2017, I decided that, yeah, I was no longer happy with working, working extra hours, because I used to be a project manager there. So if you're a project manager, you'll have to develop the business cases for the projects that we were managing. Sometimes I used to sleep, run about 4:30 in the morning. And then I also made some savings for the company, but you know how it goes. Those savings were just for the company. And then at some point, I realized if I can do all these business plans for myself, then where would I be? Then that's where I decided that I have to quit the Transnet. So I quit in 2017 with the aim of studying in property. And one thing I can tell you about in terms of property, I bought my first property in 2007. And I was so excited that I got a bachelor flat next to the beach and all that. But the unfortunate part is that when I got the training that I'm going to give to you now, I realized that I made a huge mistake because that property was overpriced. And if I just sold it about 2 years ago, I didn't make any profit. In fact, I had to sell it below what I bought it for because it didn't appreciate, and the area where it was situated wasn't really that appreciating that much. And the other thing is it was overpriced when I bought it. So those are the mistakes that we're going to be talking about that I want to make sure that you avoid going forward, because I know that most of you might be going through the same experience. So at the moment, I've got 4 companies that I'm running. The construction one, and then I'm also busy developing the software for construction companies. And then I'm dealing with mentorships. And yeah, so in terms of my hobbies, when I've got spare time, my friends, I like to DJ. But most importantly, I make sure that I read books. But I don't read novels. I read books that are gonna tell me or educate me how am I going to make money. And then I love to travel. On my spare time, I like movies, particularly action movies. So that's a brief about me. Here on the pictures, you can see where I'm busy DJing there. We're having some fun with my friends. And then you can see here as a speaker, well, okay, let me just check. Sorry about that, I was just checking the internet, yeah. And then here I was busy making some presentations. And then here on this picture, I was busy mentoring some of my students. And then right here at the bottom, if you enroll for my mentorship, then I'll be able to work with you. Here you can see it's a 10-year plan that I will develop for my students. And then on this picture here with my friend from Mozambique, we're graduating in Netherlands for our masters. And then on this here, it's where my construction company is currently working. We're busy constructing a TVET college as a subcontractor there because my company is still small. It's on the grade 1. So what's more important is that you need to have multiple income streams. Don't look at one income stream. So what are we going to talk about today? We'll look at the mindset. What's more important is that we need to change our mindset before we can even do anything. And then we'll look at how you can do your goal settings. And then we'll look at what we currently do or the traditional way of approaching when we're doing, we want to accumulate wealth. And then we'll look at now the creative way of approaching when it comes to wealth. And then we'll also look what does a mentor can assist you with. And then we'll also look at how the creative property investment versus the traditional property investment. And then we look in terms of the numbers, because here in property, we don't use emotions, we use numbers. So I'll show you how to run the numbers before you buy any property. And then at the end, we'll then have a session where we can ask questions and then I'll be able to answer you. Okay, success is not an accident. Success is a choice. So that's something that you have to bear in your mind, that you have to work hard towards success, because if you don't, you won't succeed. And from today, I want you to tell yourself that you are responsible for your success. You are 100% responsible. You don't have to blame anyone, the government or whatsoever, but yourself. Because I can understand from the background that we're coming from, you didn't have any choice, but going forward, it depends on you how you can react. Okay, there's someone that say can't hear me here. Let me just have a look. What's the problem? Okay, I'm just gonna respond to Joe here. Let me just. Please unmute yourself. Yeah, that's technology, but yeah, we have to get used to it. It's here to stay. Because the reason why I decided to call this webinar is that sometimes it's difficult to get reach of all over the country, and then you might be missing out all the information that is critical, which is going to help you to be successful in life. So you have to bear with me, because this is actually my second webinar. Last week I tried to arrange it, and then also experienced some technical issues when it comes to this webinar. But I'm hoping that today everything's gonna go smooth. So tonight, what I would like you to do is that you have to have an open mind. I'm sure you have read some books, and then you have listened to other people, what they've said, and maybe you have attended some training. But on this one here, I would like you just to open your mind and then listen to whatever I'm gonna say. You can take whatever that you feel that it is important to you, but I can promise you that most of the stuff here, they're gonna be very valuable to you. And then what is more important when it comes to learning is that we have learned a lot of things, and then we're told by people that you cannot do this. When you buy a property, you have to do this and that. Today, I would like you to unlearn that and then open your mind to learn new things. And if you are coachable, then that's where you're going to be able to succeed and become successful. What's more important is that you need to surround yourself with like-minded people. Because I'm sure you've noticed when you're at school, if you surround yourself with friends that are not doing well, then you ended up not being able to pass at school. But when you associate yourself with people that are successful, then you see the results. I'm sorry about this, and then I'm receiving messages here that people are struggling to join our meeting. Okay, seems like Joe is being sorted. Okay, sorry about that, you have to bear with me. So even now at work, if you associate yourself with bad people, you ended up being like them. So you have to rub shoulders with people that are successful, or people that have the things that you really want. Because by so doing, and then you'll be able to be successful. And the other important thing is that we need to come out from our comfort zone. I know that most of you might be working and you enjoy the fact that at the end of the month you get your salary. But I would like you to look at the current situation in our economy, particularly in South Africa. Just imagine that you wake up the following day and then you are told that the company will be shutting down. What are you gonna do? So you need to start working now. Get out of your comfort zone. Stop watching TV, read books, attend seminars. They are free seminars. Make sure that whatever that seminar that is valuable, that you see that is gonna contribute a lot from you, go and attend those. And then, more importantly, as I just mentioned, that you need to attend seminars, you need to find a mentor. That's something that is really important, is that, you see, when we grew up, we had our parents who were like mentors. They taught us everything. After that, we went to school. Our teachers became our mentors because they taught us everything. But one thing that happens, because even at work, when you arrive at work, you can't do everything once you finish your diploma or degree. You need to have someone that's going to show you how things are done. But what happens is that when people, they start companies, they want to work in silos, they want to do everything by themselves. Instead of asking the people that have gone through that route, they knew everything, they knew the shortcuts, so that they can assist them. That's why we're taking that long to be successful, or we even fail that much because we want to do everything by ourselves. So I encourage you that you need to find a mentor. A mentor can be different people for different businesses. You can't take me to be a mentor for a retail business because I only deal with property. So to run the shop or whatsoever, I don't have that experience. Or maybe to run the garage, I don't have that experience. So you need someone who's in that particular industry that can be able to show you how things are done. Okay. And the most importantly is that we also need to change our habits and we need to develop ones. Especially the new ones must be those that I've just mentioned there. You need to read books that are gonna bring value to you. I understand that most of the people, they like to read novels or fiction books. No, just read something that's gonna bring you money. Towards the end, I'll also just show you some books that I recommend that you read that are gonna help you in terms of more skills or knowledge when it comes to investing in property. So what I would like you to do as from today is that you have to think big. Think big. Because if your dream can't scare you, you're not dreaming big. You are here to make wealth. So think wealth. And the only way that you can make wealth, because 90% of the people that are rich through property. So with property, you won't go wrong. And then later on, you will understand why. So let's talk about the goals. So what I would like you to do for now is that I would like you from on your piece of paper to write sort of a budget. The budget where you will say in 10 years from now, how much exactly you want to earn per month. Let's say you're gonna put maybe the car that you want to drive. How much is that gonna cost you a month? Let's say about 20,000 rand a month. Your house that you're gonna be having, how much is that gonna cost? The bond, maybe it's about 20,000. Your skill, your self-development in terms of attending trainings and all that, or maybe going get some degree, you count that in. Your grocery, everything, education, your relationship, you have to go out maybe to Dubai or somewhere, entertainment, everything, you have to put it in there, and your retirement. And then let's say, for example, you're saying you're gonna need to have about maybe 100,000. Right, so okay, I need to earn 100,000 a month so that I can be financial free or live the life that I want. If you've got that 100,000, so what is going to happen is that you can just take out your calculator or cell phone. I want to do some calculations here. Let's make, for example, I just mentioned that, okay, oh my goodness, I'm experiencing the problem with people that are just joining in now. So I'll have to try and respond to them. Because yeah, they sort of disturbing me now. And time is not really on our side. And when it comes to typing, I am not that fast. Okay, let's say we've got 100,000 that you want to earn per month. But the thing is, when you've got a company, you have to understand that you can only use about 10% of the profit that you make from your company. So, which means from whatever that you do or your company, you have to make sure that it can give you 100,000 per month. So what we do with that 100,000 rand, you say 100,000 divide by 0.1, which is 10%. So which means the company that you'll have must be able to make R1 million a month. And then now we're going to try and convert this to number of units. Because when you look in terms of the property, let's say you're buying a property in urban areas. For example, we're going to use a 2-bedroom unit. Is that the 2-bedroom unit, especially here in Durban, is that when you're renting that one out, you're paying on average about 6,500. So we're going to divide this 1 million with 6,500. And then it will tell you that in terms of the units that you want, it's about 153 or 154 units. So which means on your 10-year plan, you're going to be trying to work towards getting those units, which will be 154. But indeed, if you are doing it by yourself, and then it's going to be difficult. And if you are still doing it the traditional way, you won't be able to achieve this goal. That's why I mentioned that you will need to have a mentor. But this is a subject for another day or during the mentorship session. So let's proceed. But I'm sure you understand the essence of why you need to calculate, because you need to have a number. Because just imagine someone just coming to you and say, to be financial free or to do whatever that you want, how much would you need? And you don't even know the number. So that's what I'm trying to impress upon your mind, that you need to have that number. By setting up goals is to say, this is the direction that I'm taking and my destination is that 100,000 per month. If you understand what I'm saying. So once you have set up your goals, and then you need to have some strategies. Here in property, we've got different strategies that you have to use. It's either you can use flipping. You start with flipping. Flipping is whereby you buy distressed properties, you renovate them, and then you sell them. Or else you buy to let, you buy properties, maybe you're gonna rent them out, or you do the multi-lets. Multi-lets, like buying a property in terms of doing a single letting, or single letting where it's one family renting out that property. You go for multi-lets. Multi-lets is where people, they're now renting per room, which is sort of minimizing your risk in terms of in terms of the vacancy. Because if ever you have a single letting, whenever they leave your property, you've got a 1 month where you're not going to be receiving any rental. Whereas if you've got a multi-let, if one person leaves, and then you still have other people that's still going to continue to rent. So we have to be flexible about that. And then in terms of processes, you need to make sure that when you're establishing any kind of business, you need to have processes that are in place and systems so that you can manage the systems, not to manage people. Because once your systems are in place and the processes are clear, your staff will be able to understand. And then what's more critical is that whatever that you want to pursue, firstly, you have to start by believing it yourself. That's implicit. You start within before you can go out. Because imagine that you tell people about something that you're not certain about. Definitely they will realize that, and then they're not going to believe you. So you need to believe in whatever that you want to achieve within, then go out. And then the most important thing is that you need to know what is really driving you in order to achieve those goals. What makes you to be unable to sleep at night, because if you don't have that big why in your mind, and then all of the above, you're not going to be able to achieve them. Just for the example, every year or the beginning of the year, we have this New Year resolutions. And then by February, all I've forgotten about them because we don't have that big why. So today, I want you to write down a list of the things that you want to achieve and why you want to achieve those things. It can be maybe you are sick and tired of seeing your friends being successful than you. That's jealousy, but a nice jealousy, but you don't have to compare yourself with them. It can be a hate, that you hate the life that you have been experiencing or living for quite some time and then want to change. It can be because of love. There's a lady that you love, but unfortunately with your current situation, you can't afford that lady. So you want to make sure that you achieve your dreams you have money, and then you can be able to date whoever you want to. It can be anything. So, or maybe you want to leave a legacy for your family, your kids, or you want to make sure that your parents are well looked after. Because we know, especially as Black people, we have this black tax, whereby once you have finished your degrees and all that, you still have to make sure that you look after your family. So those are the things that can drive you. Because if you don't have anything that drives you, and then you're never going to be able to achieve your goals. But most importantly is to make sure that you are committed to whatever that you have mentioned here. Because most people, they show interest to whatever that they've mentioned, but they are not committed. Just for an example, if you look at the athletics, no matter what, in the morning, they will go out and then jog and all that. But for us, since we are not committed, let's say maybe at the beginning of the year, I say I want to go to the gym, but once it's raining or it's cold, I wouldn't go there because I'm not committed. So you need to make sure that you are committed to whatever that you want to achieve. Okay, they say when you're big, when the why is big enough, the how is easy. Because what happened is that your why consists of about 80% that will drive you to achieve anything that you want. And then the how becomes easy, which is about 20%. So once we have defined your why, then the how is easy because things will come to you. I'm sure some of you have read that book that is called The Law of Attraction or The Secret. If you read that book, it will tell you that thing. Whenever you think about something all the time, it will definitely come to you. And I'm sure you have noticed maybe at some point that you think of someone and then immediately they call you. Then you wonder why. It's because we are energy. So we are transmuting energy. So whatever that you think of, it is being received by someone else. So you have to think of that. At the moment, just gonna play you this video here. I hope it's gonna play. Because yeah, technology sometimes can fail you.
When you wake up every morning.
Okay, let's enjoy this.
When you wake up every morning, what drives you? If you want to live a life of success, a life of complete success, happiness and fulfillment, you must find your purpose. You see, if you don't know what your purpose is, if you don't know what drives you, what inspires you, then you have no reason to improve your life. How can you improve your life if you have no reason to improve it? Why do you do what you do? Why do you do what you do? What's the reason? Why do you exist? Do you know what it takes to be great? Are you willing to go the extra mile? I tell you time and time again, you will get tired. But if you have a why, we'll give you that extra strength, that extra foot you need, that extra hour you need, the courage. Why are you different from everyone else who's trying to do the same thing you're doing? What makes you stand out? Why are you so important? Find your why. Your why will pull you up when you feel like you don't have the strength to get up anymore. Your why will keep you fighting when everyone else thinks you are out for the count. Why? Who are you fighting for? What drives you? Is your purpose your family? Is it to prove the doubt is wrong? Is it to prove yourself right? What is your purpose? Write down your purpose. Carry it with you everywhere. Feel it deep. And promise yourself every day you will live your purpose with zero excuses. Somebody's waiting for you to mess up. Somebody's waiting for you to give up. Someone is waiting for you to fall. So when you're challenged by life, what are you going to do? When you feel like you're at your lowest point in life, will you throw in the towel? Or will you make the move to be successful? Don't look back. Just remember where you came from. And let that drive push you to go go forward. It's not always going to be an easy road. And when you reach success, you won't take it for granted. You'll cherish those moments you had to go through, those moments you were without. And when you fall down, get back up, dust yourself off. You need to find something that drives you, something that no matter what happens, this part of you does not change. This drive in you does not change. This purpose never dies. No matter how many times life knocks you down, your purpose pulls you up every time. This is the reason I will fight for my dreams. This is the reason I will not take no for an answer. When it hurts, keep going. Those cloudy days, those storms, telling you to keep going. Those times in your life, you can't see how you're gonna make it. Some things you can't change. You just have to live with. But if you do have a choice, make the right choice. Your purpose is that one thing that lights you up. It's the one thing that will get you up early. That one thing. When you're doing it, time stops. Your purpose may be something you don't want. It may be seeing someone in your past and thinking, no matter what, I will ensure I never end up like that. Your purpose is always something that lights a fire in you. I will do this no matter what. My family is counting on me. My friends are counting on me. I am counting on me.
Okay. I hope you're gonna make sure that you define a why, and then going forward, you're gonna stand again onto it. Okay, let's look at the business life cycle. The most important thing that you first have to do, if ever starting any business, I'm not talking about property investment only, any business, is that you need to get a mentor. Someone who's gonna teach you the ins and outs of what you want to do. And then with that person, they will be able to assist you in terms of even setting up your goals and all that. And then you need to make sure that you draw a plan, because once you have the plan, if you don't have, you can have dreams and goals, but if you don't have a plan as to how are you going to execute that, then there's no way you're going to be able to achieve those goals. So once you have achieved and you have make the plans, then you need to come up with the action plan or the implementation and then execute those goals. Because you can dream and dream, but if you don't take action, then those dreams are useless. And then most importantly, once you have executed your plans, you need to monitor them, because they are sort of a living document if you've got a plan, because you need to review it and then look at the current the situation and then make sure that it's aligned with whatever that is happening. And then what you need to do is that if you see that things are not happening according to the plan, just review it. Don't stick to it even though you can see that it's not really working for you. Change it, make it work for you, as long as you do have the plans or the goals. So what we normally used to hear is how we can be successful is that we're told that, yeah, you have to go to school, finish your diploma or degree. And that's what I also did to make sure that our parents are happy. And then you need to get a job. Once you get a job, you have to climb the corporate ladder and then get married, have kids, buy a house, and then buy a beautiful car. And then you have your big family, nice, everything is cozy. And then we are told that you have to save for retirement. But we know that in terms of saving for retirement, sometimes it's a challenge, because I know that most of us here, especially Black people, our grandparents, they are relying on the government, because the savings that they were doing and they are not sufficient, because you might get the fact that you are told that when you retire, you're gonna live happily after. But unfortunately in South Africa, that's not the case. So you need to come up with a plan as to how are you going to make sure that even when you have retired, you are able to continue with the lifestyle that you love at the moment. Okay, this is my first deal and the most profitable one that I ever done. Basically, I went to the auction. It was in Mutu. Mutu is close to Fried, and it was a private auction. There's a difference. There's a private auction and sheriff auction. Private auction, you can do it even yourself. If you want to sell maybe your house or your car, you can appoint the estate agents to sell it for you on auction. And then for sheriff auction, that one is public. If your house is being repossessed, they simply take it to the sheriff auction. So the fortunate part is that when I was in this auction, I don't know, maybe my sisters were with me and my lot, is that I was the only bidder there. So there was no much competition. So when we started bidding, they asked me how much I want to offer for this vacant site, which was about 6,000 square meters. As you can see from the picture here, it was a nice flat property, as you can see here on the picture. But due to the fact that my strategy was only to buy and sell, I had to buy this one and then in order to sell it at a later stage. So I proposed about 70,000 rand to buy it cash. And then the auctioneer they said they tried to negotiate with me. And then I went to 100,000 and I'd say that was my last bid. So what happened with the private auction is that once we have won the bid during the auction is that it's not yet approved. They still have to take it to the seller. And then once the seller approves, that's when then the property will become yours. So fortunately enough, I waited for like about 2 weeks and then the reply came back to say the property is now mine. So I had to pay now the 15% of the VAT, and then I paid the auctioneer's fee, which is what's about the 15,000 rand, and then I also paid the transfer costs. And then for this property, I kept it for only about 8 months. And then when you look at the total costs of what I spent on this property, I spent about 144,000. So 8 months later, and then I put it on the market. I started from 1 million, and then we negotiated up until I offered 600,000. And then when you're now selling the property, you need to pay because I gave it to the estate agent to sell it for me. So the estate agent, I managed to negotiate because I didn't want them to say they're gonna charge me so much percentage. I simply told them that I'm only gonna give them 30%, because when you are now in business, you must be able to negotiate. You don't have to just agree with everything that you are being told. You need to negotiate for everything that you want to buy going forward. So I negotiated with the estate agent, then they agreed to the 30,000 commission fee. And then when you subtract the money that I spent, because what we normally do when we're doing the business is that whatever that you have spent, even your time and all that, we don't count it when now you are receiving profit, whereas you need to count that. So out of that 600,000, subtracting all these costs, the commission fee and all that, and then I ended up making a profit of about 426,000. Can you imagine what you would do with that money just in 1 year? Can go to whatever vacation that you ever wanted to, do whatever that you wanted to, maybe do some renovations at home, but property is the way to go. Okay, now let's look at the wealth triangle, how we need to make money based on our circumstances. I know that most of you people are working. So that's where we're saying you are working for money, because you are now exchanging your hours or your time in order to earn salary. And then we also have to have some businesses. That's where you can make money. But you need to have a stable business, not just to start a business just for the sake of starting a business. So when you are enrolling for the mentorship, that's when we'll talk about the business, because when you are a property investor, you must need to manage to run it as a business. Not that you're gonna buy properties under your name, you start them under your name. You need to have a business, because a business you have more benefits in terms of tax, SARS, and all that. And then where we all want to be is to be investors, where you simply, if you've got money, you buy businesses, you just become the chairman, you don't have to work. or you just you buy shares to certain companies that you can see that they are feasible. And then what you expect is that you get your dividends at the end of the month. That's all you want to do. And that's really the main goal of where we need to be, all of us, not most of us. But let's see, how does this thing work? As you work, because I know that most of you, they will get bonuses. December is coming, you'll be getting the bonuses or the 13 checks, and then others, they'll receive some incentives. I remember even myself in December, I'll get the 13 check, which I will do during December, and then I will wait for my incentive, which will be in June for the performance. And then also just blow it, knowing that I'll receive the 13 check in December. But what I'm trying to say is that now going forward with those money or whatever savings that you have, try to start a business or save for the business. And then in your business, don't work in your business, because that's what people do. They open the company and then sort of creating the what do you call, the job title, or the job for them. No. You need to appoint people that are going to work for you. You need to work on business, not in your business. That's what most of us as Black people, they start with their tax shops and then they're sitting in that tax shop, but it never expand because they were working in the business. When you are working on the business, that's when you can be able to see other opportunities. You can be able to invest, spot opportunities so that you can expand your business. But if you are working in your business, you don't have time to see opportunities. So you need to, once you have got your business, if your business is profitable enough, and then that's when you take some of the money and then you invest it by buying companies, more companies. Because what we need to do is to diversify, not to have one business, because we need to have multiple income streams so that if the other one dries out, the other ones are still performing well. Or what you can do with your money that you save, rather than starting a company, if you don't have any idea of how you can start a company, save that money so that you can invest to those who are coming up with the ideas of business. But you have to make sure that you know what you're doing. Do your research, do your homework, so that wherever that you are investing, you can see the results. Okay, now let's look at how we spend money. The green one is for the wealthy mindset. People that are wealthy, how they spend their money. And then middle class, middle class, including teachers, managers, GMs, all those police, nurses, doctors. And then the poor mindset is those people that are working those the general workers. Then let's see how they spend their money. But not all of them. Some of them, they spend money differently. So let's look. The poor mindset, they will receive the income from their 5 to 9 job. And then once they've received it, they will receive on the 30th. And then on the 2nd or the 1st, they're paying all their expenses, and then it's gone. And then they think they are bewitched because their money, they can't see where it's gone, because they're not even doing the budgeting. And then let's look for the middle class. The middle class, because they're earning a lot, and then they will buy those expensive cars, buy expensive houses, and then spend the money, and then it's finished as well. So their trend is also the same. It's just that theirs is different because they're earning more compared to the poor mindset. And then let's look at the wealthy mindset. The wealth mindset is that they make sure that with the money that they have, they invest in positive cash flowing assets. So they'll buy those assets, and then from the assets, those assets that they have acquired are going to be able to pay them their salary. And then they can also pay their expenses because they are human beings as well. And then they have liabilities, but their liabilities are different because they are sort of leveraging on their liabilities. The credit card you have as a property investor going forward, you're not going to use it as a credit card. You're going to call it an investment card, because that money that you have in your credit card, you need to use it when you're buying properties, not just for entertainment. And then with these liabilities that they take loans, they're not afraid to take loans from the banks to buy more assets so that the assets can be able to pay themselves. So that's how they make money. And then that's how they are financially free. So that's the route we need to take going forward. Okay, let's just now look into details. So you see, with the mindset of wealthy people is that, my apologies, is that they determine how much they want to earn so that they can be able to buy the assets that will be able to give them whatever they want to earn. And they make sure that they pay themselves first. And then who pays them is those assets that they purchase. They're not relying on the salary from somewhere else. And then they also make sure that they live happy. They spoil themselves because their assets are paying for that. And they make sure that they pay for their stuff. You've got the people that are working for you. Make sure them you pay them accordingly so that they can carry out your work. And then you need to learn something now to give back. Just like what I'm doing. I know that some of the people, if they've got the knowledge and expertise from what I have, they'll just keep it to themselves, not to share it. So you need to, there are different ways of giving back. You can choose whichever that will be suitable for you. But you know that the blessed hand is the blessed is the hand that gives than the one that receives. So make sure that when you give, you'll receive more. And then don't fear in terms of debts. As I mentioned earlier, that the thing is, there are difference between a good debt and a bad debt, just like Robert Kiyosaki mentioned. The good debt is that you take the debt simply because you want to make sure that you're gonna make that money work for you, not other way around, that you take a debt that you're gonna work to pay it back. But if you take the money from the bank, you know that if you buy a property, the property will be able to pay back that money. So you must have the good debts, and then make sure that you leverage on your debts. Use other people's money, not your money. And then once you have money, make sure that in terms of the assets, you buy more cash flowing properties, buy more businesses, and then expand your business. And make sure that you employ people that are competent so that your company can grow fast. Okay, I've mentioned earlier on that I'm sure even if you do your studies or research, you know that 90% of millionaires or billionaires, they became through so by owning real estate, because real estate is the only, I would say, the most assets that you can rely on compared to paper assets, maybe JSE shares and all that, you know. But property is something that you can see, and then you can do whatever that you want to do in order, if you want to make sure that you milk more out of it, you can extend it and do whatever, as long as you're doing according to the law. So why we really should invest in property? It is a basic need, no matter what the economy is doing. If the economy is not doing well, people, houses are being repossessed, they still need accommodation. So what you do as an investor, you make sure that you rent them out. And then if there's a boom, you just buy and sell those properties and make more money. So, and the other thing is, it's immovable, it's tangible as compared to other investments. And the nice thing about property is that anyone can invest, and you can be able to invest without even money. I'm sure if you're asking how can that be done, just look at the Airbnb. He's making money out of property, but he doesn't own any property. So that's how you can do money out of property without even a cent. You just have to be creative. And the nice thing about property is that it appreciates in value. You might be receiving your rent, and then as time goes by, it appreciates in value. And then once it appreciates in value, don't just rush to pay it off. Delay everything. You are here to stay. The only thing that you want is that number. You want to have 154 units. So why do you want to pay off the property? Once it appreciates, just go and request for refinancing. You take that money and then you buy another property, which will be able to pay itself. And then there are high returns in property as compared to if you take your money and then you save it in the bank. At some point, Well, what we teach here is that we don't invest it to any property that is going to give us a return on investment that is less than 15%. It's 15% or no. And the nice thing is that when you invest in property, you are in control of your investment as compared to when you have to hear to someone. Because if you say you're owning a buy-to-let property, is that every year will tell you the tenants that I'm going up by 10%. They've got no choice. They'll have to just abide with that. And if you want to extend it, you can do that, you know. So there are many ways in which you can control your investment. Whereas if you're saving your money in a bank, you don't have control over it. You just be told, okay, for this year, you're only gonna get about 6% per annum. And there's nothing you can do about that, you see. So property provides you with financial freedom, because the nice thing about property is that you don't have to really manage it. You can have properties, you give it to someone else who's going to look after them, and then you can just enjoy your life. All you need is just your money at the end of the month. You'll have a legacy. It's something that is great because it can be able to be transferred to whoever that you want to transfer it to. And then with property, you can use that. Whereas if, for example, you want money to invest to a company, the bank won't give you that money. But if you want to buy a property, the company will give you money, unless if you've got a proper or sound business plan. But the bank won't give you money to go and buy Bitcoins. That's one thing for sure. They won't do that. Okay, then the nice thing is that with the property, you've got tax benefits. For an example, if you are filing for SARS returns, you mention everything, whatever that you're using. If you went to fix your window, you pay levies, you pay rent, you include that in your tax return. And the nice thing is that when you have now the company that is managing properties or that properties are registered under, is that, or if you have any business, is that in terms of the tax, you'll be paying less tax. The company's tax is only about 28%. And that tax is only deducted after you have subtracted all your expenses. So just imagine, whereas if you are working or if you are using your name to buy properties, is that, let's say your salary scale is more than $1 million, you know that your government is going to take about 45% in terms of tax. And then if you've got some more properties, they're even going to charge you even more on that. So it's wise that you make sure that you open the company so that all your properties can be under that company so that you can have those benefits in terms of tax. And then the nice thing is that with property, you only need about 10%, and then you can be able to buy a property. You pay 10%, let's say, for example, a property is a 1 million, you just pay 100,000, and then you're owning this property for 1 million. And then you can delay it for like 30 years in terms of paying it. Or you ask someone, you have the tenants that are going to pay for it. So that's the beauty of having a property. And then the other thing is that most of the people, they simply just want to start there, you know. You have to start somewhere. Like Vustembewa mentioned, if you want to start a farm, at least start by selling eggs. And then those eggs start by chickens, and then chickens, it can be able now to buy maybe a small plot. And thereafter, you can start with a farm, a big farm. So property, same thing applies. Don't simply just go for the development because you don't have experience and all that. Start with something small, flip the properties, because that's where you start crawling. And then you go for multi-lets, you buy to let, because you now have to even now combine certain strategies. You can use 2 strategies, your capital flip as well as the buy to let, once you have seen that you have make more money. And then once we have generated more revenue, because you know that if ever even going to start with the development, the company, the banks, because we're saying we have to use other people's money. Don't just save your money because you want to build it cash by your money. No, there's money in the bank. There are those people that are saving money at the bank because they don't know what they're going to do with it. So the bank, they are looking for people that are going to use that money. So we need to go and use that money. So with, let's say, for example, you want to start this development here. let's say maybe it's got about 100 units. And then the cost of it will be about maybe 60 million. All you need is just to make sure that with your flips and all that, you save your money up to 6 million. Thereafter, you have this building, as easy as that. And then one thing you need to know about when you construct a property is that once you have constructed, is completed, and then you've got tenants, you can simply straight go back to the bank to say, come and evaluate my property. And then, because let's say, for example, you have constructed for 450,000 rent a house. Immediately, once it's complete, and then look at your surrounding, and then you will see that this house can cost about $1 million. So, which means you've got about 550,000 rent, which is a difference from what you constructed the house and what is currently costing. And then you can go to the bank to say, I want a second bond on this property. They give you that difference of 550, but they will give you 80% of that money. And then you can use it to buy another property. That's how you can grow your portfolio. Okay, let's look at the numbers here. When, as I was talking about flipping and rental. Let's say, for example, you start by flipping. You have bought the house that is distressed, and then when you buy it, the cost is gonna be about 1.35 when it's now refurb and all that. Because we're saying here you need to start with the end in mind. So you take all these costs, and then as I mentioned that in terms of profit, we don't go for anything that is less than 50%, 15%, unless you can see that there's a huge profit that you'll gain. Let's say, for example, if I can go less than this, if I want to have that 150,000 or so. And then you look at all these costs, and then you're saying here, after 3 years, let's say I'm just flipping at least 2 properties per year. And then after 3 years, I'll have about 1.2 million as cash. And then with that cash, this amount, 1.2 million, it will be able to give me the properties or the development of about how much? 1.2 million, it will be the deposits of the 12 million. Yeah. So from there, then I can be able to have a development of 12 million. Can you imagine how many units can I be able to buy there? As compared to when you start with the rentals. And then, because you see, you will be paying a rent of 12,000, and then your bond, you will receive a rent of 12,000, the bond is 8,000, you still have to pay levies, management fee, and all that. And then the only money that you're going to be able to make a month is about 227. And then here you will be hoping that it's going to appreciate. But just look at the example that I told you about myself, where I bought a property, but it never appreciated. In fact, I ended up selling it below what I bought it for. What if you're going to encounter the same situation? So you're just going to have the property that is not really an asset, but it's a liability. So just look, for almost 3 years, the money that you're going to make out of the property, let's say maybe every year you increase it by 10%, you're not even going to reach 15,000. And we know that 227 rand is only going to go to the bank charges. So basically you ended up with zero. And what is really happening here is sort of like you are sort of subsidizing a person that is staying in your house. You're not making money out of that property. So we need to think about this as to what are we going to do going forward. But of course, you can try to do it yourself, and you'll tell me what are the results. So what's more important in property? Our rule that we use here, our rule number 1 is that you make money when you buy, not after you've purchased the property. Because what happened is that if you didn't do your numbers correctly, and then you're going to lose out. Because if your calculation don't show you the profit from the word go, definitely not going to make any profit. Instead, you're going to make even more losses, because it's easy to enter into property, but it's difficult to come out. Because imagine if you buy a property and then for 500,000, when you're selling it, it hasn't appreciated, you have to sell it for 500,000. But instead, what is going to happen is that you have to pay them the estate agent fees. They'll charge you maybe 5%. So you are losing out. You're not going to come with a cent out of that property. So what's more important is that we use numbers and not emotions. Don't fall for those developers. You need to be a developer yourself. Don't fall for developers to say, come and buy this property. After 3 years, it will have appreciated. And then, no, you need to become the developer yourself and then sell those properties. Because when you sell, that's when you make money, or when you buy. Because the developer, they would have make money. When they sell you, let's say for a 2-bedroom house, they're saying, okay, we're gonna sell it for 600,000, but after 2 years, it will be about 650 or 700,000. They've already made a profit because that property, they constructed it only about maybe 450,000. So the 150,000, it was a profit for them. So that's where you want to be.